Hello and welcome to the Animal Sanctuary. Over the next few weeks we'll be looking at the work of one particular centre, and that's this one in Plymouth. It's called Woodside Animal Welfare Trust. As you can see, there are lots of kennels housing dogs and cats. They also have hamsters, rabbits, guinea pigs and lizards. Oh, and a pot-bellied pig called Paula. In fact, you name it and it's probably here. The animals come here for a number of different reasons. Woodside takes them in with the aim to find them good new homes, and they're pretty successful. The staff here manage to rehome over 1,600 animals every year. But that's not the whole story. Oh, go on then, have some more apple. A cat can have 2 litters a year, and over 5 years and several generations later can be responsible for some 20,000 kittens. They all need good homes, but it's a near impossible task. So here at Woodside, their policy is to neuter as many animals as possible. And we'll be finding out more about that and how the sanctuary works throughout the series when we meet the staff, the animals and the people who support the charity. Hi Jackie.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And nice to meet, who's this down here?
That's Max.
Oh, he's a beauty, isn't he? And very big.
Yeah, needs to lose a bit of weight, needs some exercise, I think.
How long has he been at Woodside now?
Since last week, end of last week.
And one of how many dogs here?
Oh, roughly about 20, 25 at the moment.
There are all sorts of breeds here in all shades, shapes and sizes. They arrive with names like Squidgy, Skipper and Dutchie. The lucky ones are snapped up in a few days. The rest can be here for months waiting for that right home. And many have similar backgrounds to Max.
Max.
So why was Max brought to the sanctuary?
The lady he belonged to, she had a bereavement in the family and she couldn't cope because she was probably going to have one of her parents living with her. And she couldn't cope with the dog and the stress, really.
And whoever takes him on is going to need bags of energy, aren't they?
Yes, he does need a lot of exercise.
Very well trained, I don't
and
think.
training.
Is this his pen?
Yes, that's it.
So this is where he stays, is it?
Just during the day if it's nice weather, for some exercise and fresh air. Waiting for his walk this afternoon.
Considering he's only been here a few days, he's very well settled in, isn't he?
He's a nice dog.
Yeah. Jackie, 25 dogs here, sometimes even more. How does their day begin?
Starting the kennels, we take them one by one out up to the for their walk up the path to do what they need to do first thing in the morning, and then they come in here for some fresh air while they're waiting for their walk.
And what's the most common reason for a dog to be brought here?
Mainly child allergy. They seem to suddenly, children become allergic to the dog, the hair.
I imagine you become very attached to the animals yourself, and is there a little bit of sadness when you see them go?
Yes, in a way, but it's good to see them go to a new home and, you know, have somebody with them, get the exercise they need.
I noticed we haven't put any food down yet. Not feeding time?
No, they come back here after they've had a walk, then we feed them in the afternoon.
How many tins of dog food a day?
Roughly between 25 and 30 with a bit of biscuit as well.
It's a lot of feeding, isn't it? Should we go on to the next pen?
Yeah, okay.
I've got the watering can.
Thank you.
I have to watch I don't bang my head. I'm a bit too tall for these pens. These kennels probably appear rather dark and well worn, but over the years they provided a comfortable home to hundreds of needy dogs. And just next door, the sanctuary is building brand new kennels, so very soon these dogs here will have perfect conditions. It's not just a home for stray dogs though. Eventually all of Woodside's animals will stay in this timber complex until they can be found new owners. So how do you go about finding a new home for a dog? How do you make sure that person who comes along is right for the dog?
Well, people come up and look around themselves, and we vet the homes first. If they like an animal, we put the name down on them and reserve the animals, go out and do the home check. And we do like them to have a walled-in or fenced-in garden so it's safe for the dog. You know, so if they let the dog out, it's not going to just run off.
I imagine, Jackie, you have some really interesting people with really interesting stories when they bring animals into you.
Yes, we get some very peculiar reasons why the animals come to us, why they need to rehome them. Fine one we had once was they had the dog and it was too big for their kitchen. I don't know why that was. It was only a collie dog, so. And another one we had was that they didn't like the colour of the dog because it didn't match their furniture in their front room.
That must make you pretty angry.
Does we get a lot of, we have to be as nice as we can to the public, but you do want to get really, you know, mad with them sometimes.
And do the animals always arrive in good condition?
No, not always. We've had starvation cases, obviously animals that do get beaten. We've had some that have had cigarettes burnt out on them, all sorts of, you know, horrible things, really.
As well as looking after the dogs, the sanctuary also has to make room for hundreds of kittens born every year. Isn't he cute? This little chap is just over 9 weeks old and hopefully soon will be going to a good home. Here at Woodside, they try to encourage everyone to get their animals neutered, but inevitably there will always be a few which slip through the net, rather like this mischievous character here. Luckily though, there are always people willing to give them a good home, and I get the feeling you are not going to be here for very much longer.
These are where the adults are. They haven't got any really...
8 weeks ago, Paul and Pat Green lost their tortoiseshell cat, Poppy. Now they're desperately looking for a replacement. Woodside is keen to find homes for a new batch of kittens, and Dawn thinks she has just what the Greens are looking for.
Right, this is where the tortoiseshell ones are. You're looking for a tortoiseshell, you said, aren't you? Just need to ask you a few questions. Is there someone home all day?
Yes, I am. I work from home.
Right, so there's no problem with feeding them 4 times a day. Right,
Just
okay.
feed me all day.
Any other animals? Have you got any other pets
There
at all?
are cats, but not ours.
Right, okay. Any other young children in the family?
No.
Right, that's not a problem, but obviously, you know, they need to be a little bit bigger if there is young children. Right, okay. Both the tortoiseshells are female. All right.
Yeah.
They're about 8 weeks old. That's the mum that's in with them.
See the mum, right?
Spit an image of the mum.
Yeah. Oh.
There is that other little ginger one as well. If there's any particular one you want, I can get one out for you.
I want to get a tortoiseshell. Go on.
The one sat down.
The one
at the
sat
back?
down at the back.
Right. Okay. Oh. Hello, Holly.
Oh, is she going to be a long coat?
Bit fluffy.
Oh, that's all right.
If they need a lot more. Hello.
We find if you just give them a slight comb when they're young, they love it when they're older. I mean, we've got a lot here that sometimes they don't like it because they haven't been used to it. But when you're getting used to it from when they're...
If Trish had her way, she'd take them all.
I'd have the other one as well.
She'd have everyone.
But I'm not allowed, am I?
There's too many cats
Yeah.
running our way. I like her.
Well, shall we
Yeah.
give this one?
Do you want to arrange the home visit then?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Oh, can I take it?
You've got to put it back for a little while, I'm afraid.
Pat has found the kitten she wanted and they're calling her Cassie. But before they can have her, they still have to pass the home check. Later, we'll see how they get on.
Oh, yeah, no, she...
Woodside Animal Sanctuary has been going for several years now. The lady who started it all off is Carol Bowles. Carol, take me back 15 years. What inspired you to set up Woodside?
Well, I've always worked with animals over many years, Charlie. I've worked now, it's my 26th year, so don't ask me how old I am, because I won't tell you. But we started here on the animal welfare side and just hoped that there would be just a few animals. But of course, like Topsy, it's grown and grown and grown. So I came in it with the love of animals and thought, right, let's do a little bit of work, let's help. But it's just gone on and on and on.
But it was your own personal experience with animals which made you set up Woodside, wasn't it?
Yes, I mean many years ago when I worked for an animal charity, and I am going back quite a long time, it doesn't happen now, but there was a lot of animals put to sleep. In one particular day there were 90 kittens put to sleep and about 20 dogs, and I thought this just can't be right. As one dog was dying, it licked my hand, you know, and I thought, this is not right. If I can do something about it, I will do something about it. So you can appreciate why I am so eccentric about the spaying and neutering programme. You know, it is so very, very important.
Where do you see, if you can possibly foresee the future, the next 15 years?
The community, working in the community, very, very much. Education with children, families, older people, getting interested in the work that we're doing. Because very often when you're older, you feel you're of no use, and they are of use. Even if it's just sticking stamps on, helping us count any of the box money, etc., etc. And that's the way forward. But the community work with the animals is so important, because by the community work, we will stop having to have animals being brought in here in such loads. The stress on that office when they have to say, we can't take any more in, and they say, well, what are you going to do? You know, why can't you take it in? And we just cannot take any more in. We worry ourselves to death what's going to happen to them. So the community, the community, the community work.
Well, fingers crossed, here's to the future.
Thank you.
Educating the public about animal welfare is also top priority. After the break, we'll hear how the new kennels will help them do just that, and how this dog and his shoes walked into a new home.
Looking for a car that's reliable and great value? Take a look at Suzuki cars on teletext page 673. Suzuki cars, worth a closer look.
My wish is to always give you the most delicious of things, to share your world whenever you let me in, to know your look, to mirror your gaze and know your desire for the most delicious of things imaginable, and let your greatest gift to me remain just a touch.
I'm not paying full price. He's only got one here. 500? How about 200? It is second hand.
Will you stop haggling? This isn't a Casbah.
Well, I didn't pay full price to get here, and it's a shame to start now.
Your Tesco Club card can now get you up to 3/4 of a great range of deals, like flights to Amsterdam.
Oh, my bunions. How much just to do me feet?
Tesco. Every little helps.
Ladies! Once my crumpet was just as bland as yours. Then I found something worth believing in! The joy of a rich, buttery taste that made my crumpet sing! Let me tell you about it! Can I try this taste? Come on! I can't believe it's not butter! Not a trace! Wow! I'm in love with the top! I can't believe it's not butter! Oh, I'm believing it, baby!
Ideal in coffee. Gold top breakfast milk. Just savor the moment.
My conditioner helps with ironing.
Mine too.
I've stopped using one. Now some clothes don't need ironing at all. New Lenore Fabric Enhancer.
Experience the exotic. Take a closer look at a Suzuki Jimny, now only $9,995 at your Southwest dealers. See teletext page 673. Suzuki cars, worth a closer look.
Multi-millionaire rivals Steve Fossett and Richard Branson are to be crewmates on a transatlantic record bid from New York to Cornwall. Details at 6.
Over the last few months, Woodside staff have been working flat out to help raise money to pay for this new building. It's the first phase of the kennels, which will have all the latest facilities. Let's go and take a look.
You're starting in here now, aren't you?
We're starting quite black and
Inside, it's far from finished. Architect Roy McCarty goes over the next stage with the project manager and Carol's husband, Dave Bowles. They hope careful planning at this stage will provide Woodside with the building to take them well into the next century. Roy, you're the architect. Has it posed many problems for you, this project?
I mean, at the end of the day, the site is a bit problematical because it's very tight, and one of the main problems has been trying to negotiate a path for a building programme and not always knowing what the funds are for certain parts.
So it's rather like a jigsaw puzzle. You're buying a piece at a time, and hopefully you'll have the complete picture.
Someday.
Fingers crossed.
That's right. Yeah, we're getting there. You see, when you think that we didn't want to build a large kennel. What the idea of this building is to be the sanctuary for the kennels, so, for the trust. So we've got kennel space here, and eventually in the second phase is cattery and veterinary clinics. But it's to be the operating centre of the trust, because most of the trust work we hope will be out into the community. But obviously, being an animal charity, you've got to have space available to take in the animals that are at risk. And this area we're standing in now, in actual fact, is devoted to the community. This is where we'll bring the people for education, to be able to tell them all the things that they should be doing or could be doing for their animals, how to get help, and visits from school children, so that we can catch them really young and educate them on the way that they should care for their pets and what they can get back out of their pet by looking after them well.
Not only do the new kennels tower above the dilapidated site of the old wooden sheds, but they also have some surprising features. The turf roof means it blends into the countryside, and the kennels are underground to cut down on the noise. How many kennels will we have along this stretch then?
Well, effectively this is split into 3 kennels per block, but there's flexibility in the sense that each dividing partition can be lifted out. So if Carol has a family of dogs or a mother and some puppies, they can lift out partitions and they can be kept in one area rather than be split into 2 or 3 different kennels.
A lot of forward planning by the sounds of it. A lot of forward planning.
Yeah, it actually hasn't been that difficult because the trust is very forward-thinking. So wherever we've been around the country and found out things about various kennels, they've readily adapted it to their own purposes.
Getting the money to keep the old sanctuary open is a struggle. Raising the hundreds of thousands needed to pay for the ongoing building work seems an impossible task. So every new cheque is a cause for celebration and an opportunity for some much-needed publicity. You know, the staff here never know what to expect when they turn up for work. For example, this Ginger Tom here was left abandoned at the entrance in this plastic cat box. It was raining very heavily and it was rapidly filling up with water. Fortunately though, you were reached and rescued just in time. Now that he's here at Woodside, hopefully his future's looking a lot brighter and drier. Not so for Billy. He's another unwanted cat left in the hands of Woodside. 2 weeks ago, it looked as if the sanctuary was going to be his permanent home, but today, everything has changed. Hi, Helen.
Hello.
So we're here with Billy.
We are, yes.
Doesn't look terribly well.
No, Billy not been very well, and I'm afraid last night definitely took a turn for the worse. So we're gonna see what the vet's got to say, but not feeling too well, I'm afraid. Hello. Hi.
Okay, who have we got here today?
Well, this is Billy, and you've seen before. Hasn't been very well at all, and I'm afraid overnight has deteriorated quite a bit. Not very well at all. We've tried all sorts.
How'd you come? How long have you had him in?
Oh, we've had him a good month now. Obviously, he wasn't in this sort of condition. This has literally happened overnight, but he has been thin, and we have been worried.
Let's just have a little look.
He came in as a stray. And because he was so friendly, you know, he's obviously had a loving home at some time,
and
but
the leg's been knuckling under like that.
Literally,
just today.
Yeah.
Okay. It's very, very thin.
That's right. I mean, this, you know, it's
Let's have a little listen to. That's fine, if I can just come round here, that's great. Okay. You noticed a smell on his breath? Yeah. You smell his breath and see when I pick his skin up.
Lack of condition?
Yeah. He's very dehydrated. That skin should go straight back down again nicely. And it doesn't. It stays up and stays there. Smell on his breath means his kidneys have failed. But that's not the only thing that's wrong with him as well. That leg's becoming paralysed. And so the kidneys are probably beginning to affect the brain and the rest of the nerves.
So really it's gone beyond any fair.
Sadly, anything that we try and treat here is not going to get better.
It's just going to pull out.
It would be kinder to put him to sleep, I'm afraid. But no, we can't carry on with him. Okay.
The only thing I can say is because it very rarely happens, and if it does, it's purely because the animal is beyond veterinary help. That's the only way really you can come to terms with it yourself, and it's still very hard.
Jill Ball works in the community on Woodside's welfare round. Today she's come to a flat in Plymouth to pick up 8 gerbils and 2 rats.
Quite nice little.
Three.
Three-month-old gerbils.
Fine, aren't
The owners have just had a baby and don't want them anymore. Now they'll have to go back to Woodside for rehoming.
Right, Miss Morgan, we come to see your rabbit.
Jill's next task is to treat Snowball to a manicure, but first she needs to get a firm hold of him.
Good boy. We're just taking off the tips here, all right, which they do need doing, or else they'll, you know, with him scratching, could hurt his eyes or whatever.
Now a home visit to Paul and Pat Green, who we met earlier. Jill's checking to see if they can give Cassie, the tortoiseshell kitten, the home she needs.
I'm going to have to ask you, do you work all day or not?
I do,
You
but
do?
my husband works from home, so he's here all day.
So initially, although it sounds quite a few things, if you're willing to take her on, we're happy that she comes here now.
Yes, we would love to adopt her.
Okay, that's fine.
So it's good news for Cassie. She now has a new home to look forward to.
Come get her.
Yeah, fine.
Here you go, darling.
At another house in Plymouth, Jill's been called in to pick up 2 dogs. The owner is moving into a flat and she's unable to keep them.
Oh, there we go. Do you know what they're like with cats? No good. No. How about other dogs?
I want the dog children, not Sam or Rex.
How about children?
Oh, lovely.
Rex and Sam go back to Woodside. Now they'll have to wait to see if someone can offer them a new home. And for Jill, it's the end of another hectic day. There's always a happy ending at Woodside. Take the story of Webster the Jack Russell. He arrived as a stray, but his deformed feet and makeshift shoes soon caught the eye of 2 men from Totnes.
The initial attraction was we were looking for a dog, mainly a Jack Russell, and we built up in our minds this image of a character for the dog, and he coincided with some characters from the Disney film Hercules. Pain and Panic were the actual characters, and one of the scenes there, they were being really naughty, and they actually got some shoes, like Hercules shoes, and one of the characters was wearing shoes, and we all kind of built it all in together. And then when we saw Webby on the TV, he was a Jack Russell, which is what we were looking for. He looked really mischievous, and of course he was wearing shoes. We go down to our local, which is the Cot in Dartington, and it's really Webby's local, because when we walk into the pub, everyone says hello to Webby, even the customers know him and everything. And he goes in, says hello to everybody, sits right in the middle of the pub, gets everybody's attention. And because we don't normally take his shoes down there, but people notice his feet anyway.
What is his condition? Do we know the condition? Because it does actually look quite painful.
Well, all the vets have said really is that his Achilles tendons may be a bit too long when he was born, which is right at the end of the feet, that they're floppy. Other than that, we don't really know.
And just like you and me, does he go through so many shoes a year?
Yeah, it's just, if he uses them regularly, they probably last about 6 months. I mean, he scuffs them quite a lot. He doesn't like take care of them at all. He scuffs his feet. And
so I've got visions here of a dog getting out a tin of shoe polish. He doesn't take care of his shoes.
That's right.
No, he's like, if you look here, I don't know whether you can see, but on the bottom, because they're quite heavy, and it's just obviously a lot of work for him. At the end of his walk, he scuffs his feet like children do.
Can you imagine your lives without Webby?
Not at all.
Not now, no. I mean, he's such a big character, isn't he?
No.
And, you know, it's just everybody loves him, and you know, he's brought so much happiness to not just our lives, but to everybody else around us, yeah.
Next week, I help clean out the cats. The Ginger Tom finds himself on the operating table, and Cassie goes home. Hello. Here at Woodside Animal Sanctuary in Plymouth, the first jobs of the day are putting up food and cleaning out the kennels. Guess will I volunteer today? Looking after the cats today is Lisa. Hello there.
Alright.
I'm here to help you out. We
Okay.
start with the food, don't we? What's on the menu?
Right, in the mornings we're feeding the complete dry food. Basically it's got everything in it. And in the evenings we're feeding tin food. That's the adult cat.
And why the gap in the middle of the plates here?
They're just for kittens. Basically it stops the kittens from actually walking on a plate. It's easy for them to reach it.
And how often do we feed the cats?
Basically for the kittens it's 3 times a day. They get tins in the morning, dried in the afternoon, and tin again in the evening. And for the adult cats it's dried in the morning and tins in the evening.
Any special dietary requirements?
Some cats do come in with like diarrhea or something like that, so we give them like a select protein diet, which is easier on the stomachs, a lot blander flavour.
Okay, let's get to it. Shall I carry these two?
Okay.
In fact, I can probably just about manage 3. Okay. Off we go. Everything you need to know about the cats looking for new homes can be found on the information attached to their pens. For example, the information includes that these 2 cats are neutered and they've come from an unwanted home. If we move down here, we can see that this cat was brought here because the former owner was unable to cope with the cat and the baby. Now, it's all very well me looking over all of this information, but the cleaning has to continue. There are some 90 cats and kittens here at any one time, and cleaning up after them is a daily chore. Emptying the litter trays is probably one of the least pleasant jobs you can do, and unfortunately there seem to be a lot of them to get through. And while I was hard at work putting the finishing touches to the cattery, some of its residents were allowed out for some exercise. You must become very attached to the cats here.
Yeah, but it's nice to see them go to new homes.
And do many of them make their way to your home?
I've got two, so well, I felt sorry for them when they came in, so they've ended up coming back with me.
Lots of different characters?
There's a lot of different characters. Some come in quite frightened, and some come in rather friendly. Just got to give them time to settle in first, and get to know the proper character of the cat.
What's the average amount of time that a cat will spend here before moving on?
Depends what sort of cats are. If they're not very nice, we give them a bit longer to settle in. Probably about, we had a cat in yesterday and he actually got home the same day he came in, so you can't really give a sort of time, really.
I imagine kittens are easier to rehome, aren't they?
Kittens, yes, they're a lot easier. People always want to come in and have kittens and they'll go a lot quicker, but adult cats, they get sort of pushed behind a bit.
OK, Lisa, well, I'm going to enjoy the rest of my drink and then, I guess it's back on duty, isn't it?
I'm afraid so.
I'm going to make this last ours. Later in the day, we had to pay another visit to vet Chris Ridge. Hi, Chris. We have a three-legged little friend for you.
Right, let's have a little look at him. You going to come out and see me? No.
The little kitten lost his leg at birth, but that's not the only problem. Helen has other concerns.
We were a bit worried about his sight at one stage. You know, whether his condition was hampering his sight, but he seems to be fine and he's managing
Well, our little fella here,
pretty well on three legs. So.
as we know, he's unfortunately got a build-up of fluid on his brain, a condition called hydrocephalus, which at the moment he's coping with very well.
What would cause that then?
It's a physical deformity of the structures in the brain. The fluid's not drained away properly. It's got lots of different reasons, but basically it's something he's been born with. Human children can be born with exactly the same thing. And this is a mild case, but what it does do is distort his eyes.
In one case, my colleague's got a cat and he's now 7 years old, so...
What's critical is, okay, there's a build-up of fluid, but as long as the pressure in the skull remains normal, so will the animal. But if the pressure rises, then we've got big problems. If the pressure does remain normal, the skull won't look normal, but everything else is normal. You can see this little kitten's reacting to light. You can see what I'm doing. Light in the eye, see his pupils contracting?
Is there much pain and discomfort?
There's no pain whatsoever with this. If this deteriorated and the pressure rose nigh on, the first thing that would happen would be unconsciousness. So there's no question of suffering. And if we look, we've got pretty well a normally coordinated, interested kitten.
We're going to have to find a special home.
And do very, very well with just 3 legs.
That's right. I mean, and that's the other problem, is the fact he's only got 3 legs.
Bit of a disaster, really, aren't you?
Had a little bit of a disaster, but if we...
But still very much a kitten.
Yeah, he's a proper kitten. I mean, he's looking around, he's alert.
Chris told us the next year in the kitten's life is critical. If the pressure inside his head remains unchanged as he grows into an adult, his prospects are good. Sophie and Bruno think it's walkies, but their handlers Phil and Brian have other ideas. They want to learn how to manage the dogs properly.
Sophie and Bruno?
Yes.
Can you pull from her?
Many of the dogs which end up at the sanctuary have come from broken homes or from people who are unable to cope with them. Today, Paul Broad has come along to give 2 poodle crosses some training, and hopefully this will make them easier to rehome.
To make them walk without pulling, I think we should introduce them to a check chain. As long as it's used as a check chain and not a choke chain. So many...
the difference?
It's the same chain, but it's the way it's used, and it's the way it's put on. And so many people get the wrong idea and say, we shouldn't use choke chains. Well, I agree, we shouldn't use choke chains. But if it's used purely as a check chain, it's not a problem. But you've got to decide which side you're going to walk your dog.
Right. So if we take it, you're going to walk it to the...
on the left.
So if we take it, walk to the left, the chain has got to release every time you check it.
Right.
If you put it on upside down, the first time you check it, it stays tight, so,
Right.
so it's useless. Who have I got?
Sophie.
Sophie heel. Sophie heel. Now she needs a word to relate to when I check her. She needs a word to relate to, so I'll say heel every single time I check. So eventually she's going to come back just to the word. Good girl.
Paul, I don't see a great deal of poodle in the two dogs, but they are poodle crosses.
Supposedly poodle crosses, yeah. Poodle GSD, I think.
Right. How do you rate their progress?
When I first saw them in the kennel, I thought, oh my, they're almost raving lunatics. And then they came through the gate, and they were pulling their handlers over. And I thought, wow, are we going to do anything with these two? But when we did some work with them, I think perhaps they might have done a little bit of training before in their 5 years, and I think they're quite trainable.
And behavioural problems, is it down to the nature of the dog or the owner?
It could be the nature of the dog, it could be hereditary, it could be genetic, which you can't change your genes. But a lot is learned behaviour. The dog can learn to do things wrong as well as do things right. Now, to teach any dog to stay, there's no point trying to go 10 yards away unless they'll stay 1. So I'm going to tell him to stay and hold him in position. If I feel he's staying there, then I'll just release it. I'm then close enough to stop him moving if he does move. Stay. Stay. Stay.
I wonder, will he or won't he stay?
That's a good boy. That's a good boy.
Every year, Woodside rehomes over 1,600 unwanted animals. And during the busy year, they even manage to find time to take to the road and visit schools. Today, we're taking some of the animals to a local Plymouth school to give a few lessons to the pupils on how to look after their pets. Hi, Debbie.
Hello.
So, what are we taking with us today?
We've got Minnie the hamster and Skipper the dog.
So, what do we hope to achieve today?
Basically, we want to promote responsible pet ownership, and by starting with people when they're young, we feel that's a good thing. We also want to point out not to do unnecessary breeding. Obviously, the prevention of unwanted animals is very important to us.
And what sort of response do you get from the pupils?
Generally, it's very good. You know, they're interested in the animals, they like to see them, so they're prepared to listen to you.
Well, good afternoon, boys and girls. Now, we've been dealing with Woodside for a number of years, and of course we've had a few assemblies for Year 7 talking about Woodside, how important it is to Plymouth, and particularly how important it is to us, and how we can help that centre and the animals there as best we can. Now, I've got a few things to tell you near the end, but first of all, I want to introduce you to Debbie, who of course is from Woodside, and she's going to give you a little update on what's happening at Woodside at the moment. Debbie.
Thank you. Woodside Animal Welfare, I'm sure you've all seen our little logo there, so when you see that, you'll know. We get lots of animals at Woodside that are unwanted. They don't just range from cats and dogs, they can be pot-bellied pigs, goats, we've got chickens and ducks, and all sorts. Very often we find it's more difficult to home the larger dogs. We were very lucky when this lady came in with a little boy and took this lovely dog. We were very pleased with that. I don't know if any of you can remember, but that was Finn. He was actually found in the forest, tied to a tree. That was very sad. We were very lucky to home Finn with another Woodside dog we'd homed earlier that year. Now, it's all very well, all these animals look so cute and cuddly, but the main things to remember is you've got to look after them, you've got to be responsible. Really, your parents are going to be the ones that are looking after them more than you, but you must help. If you bought a rabbit, you mustn't leave it at the bottom of the garden and forget about it. It needs a run, and you mustn't let them breed, because obviously there's enough. You know, Woodside is inundated with these poor little creatures. So if you can remember, responsible pet ownership is very important to us, and anything you can do to help us in the future with fundraising, obviously we'll be only too glad to receive from you. Thank you for listening.
After the break, Sunday the rabbit has his teeth trimmed, and Cassie gets up to mischief in her new home. Looking after unwanted animals and finding good new homes for them is a very important part of Woodside's work, but it's just the beginning. They believe if they can encourage people to have their animals neutered, there will be less unwanted pets left with them. Today, I've come along to one of their charity shops, and behind that door, you'll find their brand new neutering clinic. This is one of the Sanctuary's 7 shops. The money raised here from clothes and bric-a-brac helps keep Woodside afloat. It's also the centre of their spaying and neutering operation.
There's 3 cats that have gone and 1 dog.
Yeah. Chris and Thelma book the animals in each week, and owners on benefits get a subsidised rate.
Thanks very much. 9 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah, lovely.
Okay.
Remember the ginger Tom we saw in last week's programme? Well, today he's been brought in for neutering. 2 days a week, vet Gisela Neen operates on around 30 animals, and today she's some 17 dogs, cats and guinea pigs to get through. Woodside is proud of this clinic. It's a far cry from the porter cabins Gisela used to work in at the Sanctuary. Lottery money paid for this unit, and it's here that Woodside spearheads its spay not slay policy to stop the birth of unwanted animals. Hi Gisela.
Hello.
This is our abandoned ginger Tom.
Yes, so I hear. It's a shame, isn't it?
What stage are we at here then?
Well, I've just given him his anaesthetic injection. He had a pre-med prior to that, which had a painkiller in it and something to make him relax, because he was very scared. But I'm just going to check him over now, which I do with all the animals that I anaesthetise, because most of these chaps haven't seen a vet in their whole lives. He came off the street. There might be something that hasn't been noticed. I couldn't possibly have examined him properly when he first came in because he was too scared of me. And he had lost an upper canine there, I don't know if you can see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he should have one on the other side.
He's seen a bit of action, hasn't he, by the looks of it?
Yes, I mean, people really should... he's got flea dirts on here, quite a few. See these little black bits in his coat?
Yeah, yeah.
That's actually flea droppings, alright? So, not to put too fine a point on it, that's flea dung, or flea poo. And there's a flea, just crawling through the... I mean, he's not absolutely plastered, I've seen a lot worse than this. Sometimes you can separate the hair coat and all you see is black on the skin. And of course it's not healthy for the cat to have fleas. They can often, I'll just tell you what I'm doing now, I'm just starting my operation here.
This operation, how complicated a procedure is it?
It's very simple. I mean, there are pitfalls, but it's and any anaesthetic is actually, as you know, life-threatening, the same as it is in people, but the actual procedure is very quick. It's relatively inexpensive procedure because it's so quick, and post-operative complications are minimal.
Now, apart from the obvious, preventing the reproduction of more cats, more dogs, more guinea pigs down the line, what are the other benefits to having your animal neutered?
Well, for male cats, as I've already said, it stops them roaming, stops them spraying in the house, which is a marking territory thing, and stops them fighting. For the females, apart from the unwanted pregnancy side of it, which is the most obvious thing, unneutered female dogs will get mammary tumours. They'll get, a lot of them later on in life will get infections in their uterus, which is a very serious life-threatening condition, and will make them very ill.
It was very quick. I'd like to say painless, but...
Well, it was for him. It was for him. He won't... They're sore for about a day afterwards, I'd say.
Sure.
And then he'll be running around like normal in a couple of days' time.
As Gisela finished cleaning up, I decided to find out more about the charity shop. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Nice to see you. Hi, Thelma.
Hi.
I've seen you're going to your latest donation of clothes.
Yes.
Good to see.
Quite a few donations coming in today, so which is always handy because we do sell quite a lot in the shop.
And Jessie with us this afternoon.
Yes.
She's beautiful.
My little Jess.
This is more than a charity shop though, isn't it?
This is, yes. What we're trying to do is educate them into getting the animals spayed and castrated. Otherwise, as Chris said, you know, we get lots and lots of unwanted animals, and this is really what we're all about. This is what the clinic is all about, the spaying and neutering side of it. We get word of mouth, people recommend to come here, we get people phone to make the bookings. We allow them to lay a deposit, you know, if they find that they're financially embarrassed. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is to get the animals spayed and neutered.
Jill Ball is back on her animal welfare round. Today she's bringing one of Woodside's stray rabbits to the vets for some dental work.
Come on, mate. Did he come in? Someone's brought him in down there, have they? Well, oh, he's a stray, is he? G'day, mate. Someone hasn't cared too much for him by the looks of it. Have a look at you. Got the teeth at the front. That's a boy. That's a boy. Oh, yes. He has been neglected, hasn't he? Because they're overgrown in, broken. His top ones here are broken right off. The other thing about this little fellow is that his eye is a very infected eye on this side, and maybe a tear duct block here or infection in this eye. But we need to have a good look at his back teeth, so we'll have a look at that under the anaesthetic as well, see if they're okay.
As Sunday is prepared for surgery, Jill visits their animal foster carer, who's worried about a kitten.
Have you got your kitten?
Yes.
You just had a little bit of an accident, yeah?
Yes, not quite sure really. Just a little bit of damage to the tail perhaps.
You coming to our cottage?
How about it?
Good to see the vet.
She is quite fit and well in herself, yeah.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Jill.
Bye.
The kitten turned out not to be badly hurt, and later it went to a good home.
Has she been all right, Mandy?
Yes,
she?
fine.
All right.
Jill's next job is to take out some stitches. Claire was spayed at Woodside's clinic 10 days ago.
No problems? No problems? Looks really keen, look. So, that'll be fine now. No more puppies.
Good, lovely.
Back at the surgery, Sunday the rabbit is having his teeth trimmed. It now means he'll be able to eat properly again. Vet Dr. Ian Dawes also takes the opportunity to clean Sunday's infected eye. Sunday survived his operation. Here he is a few days later, fully recovered and waiting for a new home. Remember Cassie, that little tortoiseshell kitten chosen by Paul and Pat Green? Well, here she is in her new home. But just how naughty has she been?
She does get up to mischief. She loves climbing. We've got in our spare bedroom, we've got the spare bed, but it's propped up against the wall. And yesterday morning I caught her right up the top of the bed, so she'd just gone up, claws and everything. Curtain, back of the settee. We think we're kitten-proof, but we've had no accidents yet. She's very good. It's what you got to expect with a kitten, really. So it's no surprise to us. Yeah, I'm going to say she's been given lots of toys. She's got a scratching post, which she climbs up and sits right on the top, and it's only about a square about that big. But this is her favourite, because I think you interact with her. You know, you're playing with her rather than her just playing on her own.
Pat chose Cassie because she reminded her of their previous cat, Poppy, who died 2 months ago.
She was our first tortoiseshell. We had her for 15 years, and she was a lovely character. And we always said that after she died, we would like to get another tortoiseshell. And when I actually first saw her at Woodside, I didn't actually see that she was a tortoiseshell. I just saw the ginger mask and the little white face. But when they brought her out, and I thought, oh yeah, she's lovely. And of course, she's long-haired, so she's different to Poppy. but I'm sure the character is there.
Next week, this teenager wants a new hamster, but which one to choose?
Think of that one then.
Phase 2, that's going to cost us 180,000.
The Sanctuary launches a much-needed fundraising drive for their new kennels, and why the staff keep taking the animals home with them.